After I posted the 5-year overview of my van build, one of the requests that came through in the comments was to do a more in-depth discussion around the changes that I made as I iterated on the van. I purchased my low roof Sprinter in November of 2020, and I've been through approximately 5 versions of the van layout. And then this video is really to focus in on what does version 5 look like, and why did I make the decisions that I've stuck with, and why this layout is perfect for my family and me. So breaking this video up into chapters, I'm going to focus on first the exterior, such as suspension. Then I'm going to focus on the cab, moving into the passenger area, the midsection of the van, then to the upper back where our bed is, where the main bed is, and then finally finishing up with the underbed garage area, where we have storage and our camp kitchen. So from the outside and under the hood, the engine is completely stock. My intent and my hope is to bring this to 1 million miles. Whether or not we travel 1 million miles is yet to be seen. We're coming up on, for us, 170,000 miles on the odometer. I think 150 of which we've traveled. What I understand is that the best way to keep these engines going as long as they can is just to keep them completely stock and to keep up with your regular maintenance. So oil change, fuel filter change, transmission fluid, etc. I had stepped up from the OEM suspension to the Van Compass 2.3. I've never had any desire to lift my van. I don't have any expectations of doing heavy off-road overlanding. I love having the capacity of the 4x4 for places like snow, fire roads, but I have no intent to do any real rock climbing with the van, as I know that some others do. I didn't want to change the ride height of the vehicle. I just really wanted to have improved handling. And so stepping up from the OEM struts into the 2.3 system, having those auxiliary shocks up front, I did find it made a big difference. Where I've found a lot of results and a lot of improvement is focusing on the suspension and the ride system. Stepping up from the OEM brake system to the Shadowmarq big brake kit was a night and day change for me. This past fall, I stepped up from the OEM leaf springs into the Shadowmarq Deaver leaf kit, and again, made a world of difference, especially when I swapped to my bed box design. It did add a fair amount of weight from all that plywood, and I found that we were bottoming out much more regularly than I wanted to, and swapping out the OEM leaf springs into the Deaver springs made just such a world of difference, from handling in high wind to taking turns, and especially to not bottoming out. All the way at the rear, one of the first upgrades that we made was when I swapped out the smaller tire size to the current all-terrain tires. I found that my full-size spare didn't fit underneath the van, and so I did purchase an external spare tire carrier that fits on the driver's side door, and most importantly, it's a full-size spare. Moving from the exterior and into the cab, the major improvements that I made were upgrading the head unit and the infotainment center to a larger screen that I could use CarPlay with. That way I can more readily see maps, and I really just feel like the Sony that I went with has a lot more real estate and is much more useful to our needs. This past summer and into fall, I also installed the Wolfbox dash cam and rear camera. I still need to install the front bumper camera, but overall, to be able to see front and rear and then be able to record has just really added to my sense of safety and security when driving the van. And I have the assurity that with all of that I've invested into the van, now at least I have video footage if something were to happen. The final piece of the cab is one that I'm really proud of, and that is this bespoke center console that sits between the passenger seat and the driver's seat. So I worked with Michael McNaught from Berkeley Builders and Luke from Unicorn Design and Manufacturing. Luke provided the 3D scan, and then Michael really did the lion's share of designing and plotting out how we were going to CNC the plywood pieces that it would fit. But the center console fits between both seats, clears the swivels, has a center cubby. It has a cubby for a trash can, for a battery jumpstart pack. What's curious about this is that I have yet to use it on the van, but I've used it almost a dozen times for other people. Adds 2 extra cup holders and a little bit of a tray area, and I just absolutely love the way that it turned out. In between the front of the van and the mid part of the van, I have a lagoon table that I can pull in and out. It has a bracket that I attached to the custom center console, and that way I can spin this seat around, have a workstation while we're parked, or we can park and use it as a dinner table for the family, and then it stows. And I'm really happy with the way that I was able to make it work, where it slides in and out underneath the bed box. And usually while we're traveling, it's actually covered by backpacks or other hanging totes, and it just tucks very neatly out of the way. Moving from the cab into the midsection of the van, the only major modification that I made was that I found a set of SheelMann seats with an older style of base that still clicks into the L-track. I find that they're much more comfortable. Also, having the cubby bases is huge. Throughout the van, I've littered USB-C plugins, and that way we can keep all of our electronics charged. Next to their seats is a vertical Dometic fridge, stepping from a prepackaged Jackery or EcoFlow battery into a full Victron-powered battery bank system that powers all of our 12-volt items, has made it so that my vertical fridge is now super reliable. For the dry goods and the non-perishable snacks, I installed a lower and upper cabinet system behind the kids' seats. So the lower cabinet is really intended to house 4 40-liter duffel bags, and I sized it explicitly for 40-liter duffel bags. That's what we primarily travel with. And then the upper cabinet system is built around 3 standard extra large milk crates. At the back of the van, the upper portion is really built around the bed and just trying to have the best night's sleep as possible. So I went to mattressinsider.com to have a custom sized mattress fit, and having that premium mattress has, really just elevated our ability to have a good night's sleep. We really sleep better in the van, in this familiar, comfortable space, than we do at, Airbnbs and hotels, because this is such a comfortable and cozy space. One of the things that I've tried to do as I iterate from version 1 to version 5 of the van is to make it that much more safe and secure with each iteration. In the event of an accident, I really want to have as much of the van closed up as possible to keep things from flying around inside the vehicle. For a period of time, I had a wooden headboard. I switched out the headboard for a cargo net system, specifically to create a little bit of a capture net. If things were to fly around in the back of the van, I could at least have a layer that would stop it. It's not magic by any means, but I know that it's at least a layer that can help it reinforce the safety and security of the van in the event of an accident. In that space are 12-volt lights that have USB-C charging ports on them, which were more difficult than I thought would be to find. It goes from white light mode to red light mode, and then at bedtime, we can plug our phones in, stuff it into the van essential pocket, and it can charge through the night off the battery bank. Over our feet is the blower for the AC, and then around that blower shelf, I built 2 cubbies on either side. So you have that shelf with a cubby on either side, and that's where my wife and I keep our camp essentials. So we'll usually pull our toiletries out of our duffel bags and throw them into those cubbies. And that way, when we do make camp, it's just really easy to grab out a couple things, and it takes advantage of that space that was already created by putting the air conditioning blower shelf above our feet. The AC is a split unit system, so the blower sits above our feet and blows into the van. There's no components that sit on the roof. All of the rest of the condenser and the compressor sit below the van. That way I can keep that low profile on the roof line, and then putting the blower high does a better job of conditioning the van, of dropping that cold air into the van. So I'm really happy with the way that turned out, and I also gained a lot of satisfaction in trying to figure out the puzzle of how I was going to tie that into the larger battery bank and power distribution center. So the battery bank lives on the passenger side of the van, and the power distribution components, which are primarily Victron, live on the driver's side of the van. Under the bed platform lives the garage space. So on the passenger side is a dedicated pull-out camp kitchen. As I discussed in the previous video, before we used to have the camp kitchen in a tote box. We'd have to pull it out, set it up on a picnic table, pull all the components out, cook, and then wait for everything to cool, clean, put it back into the box, and then restow it into the van. Having the heavy-duty sliders and being able to pull that drawer all the way out and have the camp kitchen live on its own space keeps all of the spills, all of the things associated with cooking outside of the van while still having it super accessible and super handy. One of the improvements that I'd love to make in the not too distant future, it would be to add a wraparound roof rack. That way I can add a 270-degree awning, and that would cover both the sliding door and the back of the van. I want to add rear door storage. I want to add 2 rear door carriers to complement the TLS Stowaway. And then I would really love to have a tall box on the passenger side that I can fit skis and winter gear into. On the interior, I would love to swap out these OEM seats to SheelMann's. SheelMann makes a version that is fanned, air conditioned, heated, and has dual armrests. And I feel like those 3 would make a magical combination to really improve the comfort of long road trips. As I mentioned in the overview video, this has been a labor of love. This is my hand-built van that the whole family has been a part of, from my parents, my kids, my wife, my brother. I'm very proud of this as a project, and it's given me such an opportunity to, as I mentioned, not only have the memories with my family of traveling with the van, but also building and problem solving and then inventing something brand new in the TLS Stowaway. But being able to have the opportunity to take a need that I had, put it down on paper, and then bring it through domestic manufacturing was incredibly rewarding. And if I hadn't gone all in on building out this cargo van into a camper van, into a family adventure rig, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. So again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening to me. If you're in the midst of building out your own DIY camper van, if you've chosen a low roof van, please let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. If you have any design considerations, things that you're going to carry forward into your build, or things that you think that I could do to elevate our build, please, again, let me know in the comments down below. Please consider subscribing to the channel. But with that, I appreciate your time and attention, and I will see you in the next video.